Welcome into Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Bruner. This is where we recap some of the top interviews and guests you met over the past week on Eye on Northeast Kansas, the TV show. You can see that streaming live 4 o'clock Central Time, Monday through Friday from our WIBW TV studios in Topeka, Kansas. We just wrapped up the month of January, and we are already firing up for election season in the state of Kansas. If it seems a bit earlier than usual, well, that's because it is. For the first time in several decades, Kansas will have a presidential preference primary. What does that mean for you? What do you need to know as we head toward that March primary date? Shawnee County Elections Commissioner Andrew Howell visited for a rundown. You usually are just starting to get geared up, and now you have to kind of hit the ground running in 2024.
It's an unusual year. The presidential preference primary, March 19th, coming right up, so we're busy in preparations already.
When was the last time we had one of those?
1992.
So it's been a minute.
It's been a couple years.
So refresh us on the lingo. Why is this called a presidential preference primary?
So this particular primary, the Democrats and Republicans are the ones selecting their preference for the presidential race. So it's a partisan primary, in effect, specifically for the president. Because
you're not specifically electing the candidate or the nominee, because that will be determined through the whole process.
Right. These candidates will go on to the general election ballot later on in November.
They may, depending how things shake out. Of course, there's always that little, you never know what might happen in South Carolina and Super Tuesday and all of that kind of stuff. But why is it still important to participate then, if this may or may not be the person that you actually see on the November ballot?
I personally am kind of excited about it because I think you've actually got Kansas being relevant more so than in the past. So I think it's a great opportunity for people, not only of the Democrat and Republican parties, but also unaffiliateds can join the party if they wish to. So it's a chance for people to be a part of helping make that decision at the time frame at which it's going on nationally. We're not so late in the process that we're kind of irrelevant like we've seen in the past.
What is the first key date we need to know?
I think for most people, February the 20th, these are a little bit unusual rules. February the 20th is the last day to register. So if you want to change your registration, you can do it before then, but that's the last day for this election. Additionally, February 20th will be the last day to request a mail ballot. So those are the two key things early to remember for this election. A little bit different rules, a little bit different time frame.
And how does it work? Obviously, it's a primary, so you don't get to choose from both parties, right? You have to pick one party or the other.
Correct.
Can you do that at the polls, first of all?
So in Kansas, you are allowed to join a party. You can affiliate at any time. So yes, you can do that at the polls. You would ideally let us know if you're not affiliated and you're requesting a mail ballot. It's important to let us know which one you want, and you'll have to join that party. So if you're unaffiliated, make sure you communicate with us about which one you want.
Can you change your party at the polls? If you're currently registered Democrat or currently registered Republican, can you go to the polls and say you want the other party?
No, you would have to do, that's what I said, the February 20 date is really the deadline for any changing. So if you're already in a party, there's kind of a difference. It's a fine point, but unaffiliateds are not considered to be a part of a party yet. So they can affiliate at any time. But once you're in a party, I believe the law says you have until after the state canvass before you can change it to anything else.
So that becomes important. If you're an unaffiliated voter, you go to the polls and you say, I want to vote, say, the Republican primary. Then 30 days later, if you're looking ahead to August and you know that you're going to want to vote in the Democratic primary in August, then you need to take care of that.
There are some hurdles and there's some time frames to pay attention to. Most people don't want to go down that road, but it is possible to do.
In the Republican primary, why will we see Ron DeSantis' name if he has suspended his campaign on that ballot?
So that means that he paid the $10,000 fee and probably didn't have time after the fact. Again, I'm not at the Secretary of State's office where those filings take place. The quick answer is we were given them by the state, so that's what we're putting on. But I just think there probably wasn't time to back off
to change it once the ballot was set. So in order to make elections work, you need people to work them, and you still need poll workers. What does that involve, and how can people maybe get involved in taking part that way?
We're always looking for election workers. Every year we lose a few. Some people move out of state, so we're always looking for Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliateds, and Libertarians. I mean, if you're if you're a voter at all, you do need to be registered as one
Okay.
of those, but we're always looking for people. So call us. You can call us at 785-251-5900, email us, or on our website. We have an application.
SNCO.us/election. That's also where you can go to register online. You have some other key dates there as well, with in-office early voting starts on the 4th of March, the 18th that ends at noon, and then the 19th, the actual primary election day. myvoteinfo.voteks.org also is where anybody can go, since this information is specific to Shawnee County in terms of the website and everything.
Right.
Commissioner Howell, appreciate you being here. We'll be catching up, I'm sure, more throughout the year.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as we mentioned, Commissioner Howell's information is specific to Shawnee County, Kansas. Check with your local elections office if you have any questions about how the process works in your area or your local registration. The State House continues to be busy with the Kansas legislative session, and we have been visiting with a lot of groups as they have come through for their various advocacy days. One of those this week were motorcyclists. Abate, Kansas had an advocacy day. They call it Bikers Under the Dome. Ahead of that visit, two members of those groups, Jimbo Iverson and Tony Railsback, visited Ion Northeast Kansas to let us know the issues that are top of mind for the motorcyclists we share the road with. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
This is something you do every year, Jimbo. What is your main goal tomorrow in getting everybody together?
My main goal tomorrow is to talk about the different issues for motorcycle rights, not only within Kansas, but across the country, but especially what's going on here in Kansas. One of the hot items I'm on is the HB 2286, which deals with motorcycle profiling.
Explain a little bit about what your folks have said is going on and what you hope the legislation will address.
Okay, yes. What we're hoping the legislation will address is we would like to see a law. We would like to join 5 other states in the country that have motorcycle profiling laws. Now, the big thing is when you start talking about laws and profiling, people need to understand that this is not a law enforcement bashing session. Okay, we like to believe 95% of all law enforcement are there to serve and protect. What this law would do would be more to educate, to teach, like at the academy, how to deal with the bikers instead of the stereotype you see on TV, you see. But I'd like to thank you for inviting us back, by the way. When I was here last year, there was like really 2 important things I wanted to get across. One was this is not a law bashing thing. And 2, in order to fix a problem, you have to identify the real problem. And what's really nice is, and we didn't have this information last year, but Congress, all 535 of our elected officials have come down and said, yes, there's a motorcycle profiling problem in the United States today.
So you're taking that information and information from the members of the various groups and taking that to the Kansas lawmakers.
Yes.
It's not just the profiling bill. Tony, what else do you guys have
Well,
on your
we're
minds?
also working on the Right to Repair Act, and right now it's at the national level. It's H.R. 906. What this does, it gives the consumer the right to the technology to repair their vehicle, the right to the specialty tools to work on their vehicle, because a lot of the automobiles, farm equipment, take specialty tools, and if you could find the part, you couldn't find the tool to fix it. It also kind of opens up, give you the freedom of where you want to take your vehicle or your equipment to be repaired, instead of having to take it actually to the dealer itself. The dealers are more leaning into this, so you have to bring it back to them. So if they don't release the technology, they don't release the newer parts, they don't release the tools, you're kind of at their mercy.
So you can't find the tool only if you go to the Ford dealership or whatever dealership
And
it
they're
would
not
be.
going to loan it to you.
Okay.
I came from Jimbo last week. There was a small auto mechanic shop in a small town in Kansas. He had to pay the Dodge dealer $500 just to get the technology to repair a customer's car.
So you're hoping to do something about that, kind of open up the
Right.
competition a little bit amongst repair shops.
And
having
on
tools.
the federal level, it's not taking off with a roll of steam that we hoped it would. So I think there are several states that have done this on their own, and hopefully next year in Kansas, we can introduce our own Right to Repair Act. And this affects more than just the automobile industry, agricultural industry, where you can't work on your tractors or your combines. And there's nothing in there that says motorcycles, but you can bet before it's all said and done, it's going to come down to that.
Jimbo and Tony, always appreciate hearing what's on your mind and your perspective on things that you'd like to see changed. So thanks for being here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
having
having us.
We also looked at School Mental Health Professionals Advocacy Day this week. There also was a hearing on the governor's tax proposal. Still no attempt to override the governor's veto on the flat tax bill. That could be coming up in the next week or so. We're following all of those issues. And of course, you can find all of the text of bills, the committee hearing schedules, all of that at kslegislature.org. A whole wealth of information. Our state officials are busy with their various agencies and organizations. The Insurance Commissioner's Office is one of them. You might not realize it, but if you have some issues or trouble with insurance in your own policy, you can reach out to the Kansas Insurance Commissioner's Office. They have consumer folks who are there to assist. Insurance Commissioner Vicki Schmidt visited to explain a little bit more about what they can do. Welcome to you.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to be here. I always like talking about helping people, so this is a wonderful opportunity for us.
With a smile on your face, because a lot of times I think people think that the Kansas Insurance Department is a regulatory agency, but you have consumer people as well. What can they help people with?
Well, we can help people kind of be the referee in between the consumer and the insurance problems that they're having. Last year, we had a record-setting year. We recovered $16 million for Kansas residents, where we got claims paid that were denied previously or that were not available to be paid, and so we had a record-setting year. Since 2019, we've recovered over $36 million for Kansans alone. That doesn't count the $69.6 million that we recovered through the NAIC life insurance locator that we also work after a loved one has passed. So we do a lot of good work.
These are benefits that people are owed.
These are benefits that are contractually owed to them. That's exactly
because
right.
There's something in the law that says certain things must be covered, and the insurance company is trying to say, no, maybe not.
Well, it's their contract, their policy allows that coverage. And sometimes there's just some hiccups in that. You have an auto accident and you have a discrepancy on your car is totaled. There's a discrepancy on what the insurance company wants to pay you for replacement value and what other sources say are replacement value. You have rental car insurance and you're having trouble renting a car through through the policy. So we can help with all kind of things. You have a hailstorm and you have damage that way. On the health side of things, one thing I did want to mention is we do have an independent medical review process that is open to any Kansas resident, and it's if your claim is denied for investigational, experimental, or medical necessity, we have an external medical review process that we can use. It's free to the patient or to the consumer. So we would encourage people that have denials like that to give us a call. Let us help you walk through that, and we would love to help people.
There's so much out there in terms of medicine and changes in medicine when you talk about the health aspect of things, especially that, insurance company, it can take a while to catch up and know what's becoming more practice. I was telling you that we're looking into the issue of colon cancer screening, and when the recommendation changed to 45 from 50, there was kind of a little period where it took insurance companies a little bit to catch up with that preventative screening coverage.
That's exactly right, and that is an EHB, an essential health benefit. So the procedure is covered, and so there was a little bit of time with the age is right.
So how do we do all of this? I guess, first of all, if you're out there at home thinking, gosh, I wonder if they could help me with this thing I've been kind of just struggling with, what does the process entail?
Well, call us, 1-800-432-2484. You can look at the website, insurance.kansas.gov. You can also send a complaint to us at web complaints with a S on the end of it at ks.gov. We're all, you can Google us and find us, or that's still a word, right? It didn't change from Twitter to X or anything.
And there is the information that you just gave, so that people can have that. We're going to keep that up on the screen for just a little bit. So after we reach out to you, you either phone, you send in an email, or you reach out through the website. What happens from there?
Well, you're assigned a person in our office to help you through the process, and then we are limited by the statute. We have to allow the insurance company so many days to respond, and but we'll walk you all through all of that. And this is what we do. I'm probably the only politician that'll ever sit on the red couch that will tell people, send me your complaints. I want your complaints. I want to hear about what's going on. We've helped a lot of people, as you can tell by our numbers. We've helped a lot of people since 2019, but we want to help everyone. And I don't want to be the best kept secret anymore.
I know you can't make people respond overnight, as you said. There's some statutes, and so the resolution part may take a while, but how quickly are your people able to at least make an initial response so folks know that you've received what they've sent in?
Same day.
Same day response.
Well, we are really efficient at that, and that's what we strive for. And if you submit a claim at 8 o'clock at night
It might
through
be
the
the next
web,
day.
it might be the next day. So let me clarify that we don't work 24/7. Most of us don't, but we will get back to them. And you know, and even if you're not sure you have a complaint but you have an inquiry, we encourage you to talk to us about those things too. If you're just not sure what your policy said or what your policy covers, give us a call, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help them.
They can be confusing. So yes, someone there to help you translate. Insurance Commissioner Vicki Schmidt, thank you so very much. I will put all that information on our website as well. Appreciate you being here and bringing us up today.
Thank you, as always.
Thank you.
Insurance.ks.gov is their website and the place to start. Another great website to keep in mind, kansascash.ks.gov. That is where you can do a search for unclaimed property. Unclaimed property. The state has millions of dollars in cash and property that they are holding on to, and some of it might belong to you. This past week, we marked National Unclaimed Property Day. Kansas State Treasurer Stephen Johnson visited ION Northeast Kansas to talk a little bit about what his office is all holding and how to find out if some of it is yours.
Which is the fun part.
Absolutely.
The important part, especially if you find something.
So great to be
Welcome.
with you.
Yes.
Thanks for the chance to talk about it and let folks know to look for the unclaimed property.
This is the fun part of your job, giving
It
away
is.
money, although it's
It
their
is.
money in the first place. So
Absolutely.
unclaimed property, what all finds its way into the state treasurer's office that you hold on to?
So anything that some entity can't find the rightful owner. It starts oftentimes if a college student moves away to college and then moves from there and they had a utility deposit that doesn't find them in that second move. A check that gets lost in the mail, a check that gets lost with a changed address. Sometimes there are payroll checks that go uncashed when someone leaves a job and doesn't catch that last paycheck. And of course, there are accounts that are lost in the process, often through inheritances that heirs don't know to claim. So all of those are eventually remitted to the state. We have the data at the last address of record, which often isn't current, but we usually have names and we enjoy trying to match people up with those assets.
How much money in assets does the state have?
At the end of 2023, we had $576 million.
Wow. And not all of it is cash. What other sorts of things do you have?
So we have a variety of things that come from safe deposit boxes. After those are left dormant for several years, the banks eventually have to drill those open and they send those to us. Most common in there of value is jewelry, then baseball cards. We have a lot
of baseball cards.
Probably really great baseball cards. And then we have some gold and silver coins, and then various and sundry other things. Some of value and some that may not have so much value.
They could have great sentimental value.
They
though.
could have great sentimental value.
We did catch up with you guys, got some video today when you were at the State House helping people do a search. How does a search work? How do you look to see if you have any of this property or money?
Great question. We want to make that as easy as possible. If you go to kansascash.ks.gov, that site will bring you to a point where you can click Search Unclaimed Property, scroll down, put in your name, however much other information you need, and hit search. So if you put in Stephen Johnson, you're going to need to put something else or you're going to get a lot of things returned.
Right.
If you have a more unique name, you can go with that. Put in maiden names. One of the key ways things can be lost. Names of businesses that you have or had. A lot of different things to search on to try and get an idea, could there be assets?
And it is true. Adding in even at least a city does narrow things down, because many people know my last name legally is Brown. There are a lot of Browns out there.
Yes. Yes.
And so without a city, it was something like 1,000 plus, and then it went down to just a few hundred when you typed in a city to search for. But those other cities are quite important
Right.
in narrowing the search.
Absolutely.
And then after you find your name, what happens?
So once you find your name on the site, there are a couple of buttons right there, and the first orange one is Claim. Click on Claim, and the site will guide you through the rest of the process to start what you need to do that. There's also in the menu some options to help you know how to search, how to claim, how to add documents if you have to, and catch your claim number at the end so that you can follow the process of that claim, which is another option that you can do on the site. So it is easy to search. We try to make it as easy as reasonable to claim, but there are fraud attempts. So we do try to make sure we actually have the right person that's pretending to be that person with $1,300.
So you can't just click and think you're automatically going to have it sent to you.
Yes, we have to have some verification that we have the right person. In some cases, if you're the owner, it actually can be pretty easy. In the case of an estate, it gets a little more complicated.
There is one item that tends to find its way, or items, a group of items, and that would be war medals.
Yes.
How do you handle discovering those? Because periodically, your office has auctions of some of those items that don't get claimed. What do you do with the war medals, though?
We do not sell those. We do auction all of the other items. As you mentioned, we couldn't hold property indefinitely just because we wouldn't have the capacity. So by the 5th year, everything is liquidated on a sale, and then that value is held for someone. But war medals are not. So if those come in a safe deposit box, we do continue to hold those and do the best we can to get those back to the rightful owners or heirs.
What else does your staff do to try and find the owners of the items and the money? Because they don't just sit there waiting for somebody to find their name and hit the jackpot on the computer.
Yeah, so this is one of the great things. Thanks to your team and others last year, we saw a big spike in volume of people searching. So just getting the word out is great. Telling others that our viewers know about the chance to search is a great help to get the word out, and then that just keeps the staff busy processing claims. We have partnered with many of our county treasurers, and we're also working with some of the representatives and senators to say, how can we identify people who you may know in your more local area to get those dollars back?
Could be a little, could be a lot that you have there. You said the Kansas Cash website. Also, you can get there by using unclaimedproperty.ks.gov. We'll have the links on WIBW.com as well. State Treasurer Stephen Johnson, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
kansascash.ks.gov is that website, and as always, they remind you there is no fee for this service. So if you do a Google search and you end up finding another site and they want you to pay a fee for this service, it is likely a scam. Just head right to that website. We wrap up with a fun visit we had this week. Rosie Williams is an author from Topeka. She published her second children's book. All of the books Rosie has written do have a theme to bridge the gap between the military families and the civilian families. This one is no exception. It's called Pink Bows and Yellow Ribbons, and Rosie told us all about it.
Welcome to you, Rosie.
Well, thank you for having me, Melissa.
This is exciting. How many books does this make for you?
Well, it makes 8 books, 4 of which I co-authored and 4 which I did on my own.
But of those 8, this is just your second children's book.
Second children's book, second in a series, though. Plan to do some more.
Okay, so the first one, well, let's talk about the new one first. The Pink Bows and Yellow Ribbons. What is the theme of this book and this story?
So the Pink Bows and Yellow Ribbons is a story of 2 little girls, and one is a military kid and one is just a civilian child. And the little girl who is the military kid, her father's deployed, and she has a yellow ribbon tied around a tree in her front yard, and this other little girl doesn't understand that. And so the story really is, why in the world would somebody tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree?
Oh, and so they learn through kindness and understanding each other's stories and backgrounds.
Yeah, that yellow ribbon, the little girl, the civilian girl, always had yellow ribbons in her hair, and as she got to know, I mean, she had pink bows in her hair, and then as she got to know her little military girlfriend, then now she always wears yellow ribbons in her hair.
And then you said this isn't a series, so what was the first children's book that you wrote?
So the first one was called The Little Jeep Who Couldn't Beep, and I wrote that one because my husband, who's a Vietnam veteran, is restoring an M151A2 Army Jeep.
Fun.
So we just gave the Jeep a name and a personality and wrote a little book about him.
And so that led into, so when you say that this is a series, do they have different characters? Is the series just that it's all going to be different military related aspects that can bring home those stories to the children?
Yeah, that military theme is going to run through all of them. But my really strong secondary audience is civilian kids that don't know what it's like to be in a military family at all. So yeah, they won't have the same characters. Each one will be new.
Your first books were serious. How did they also touch on military themes?
Well, in 2020 during COVID, my husband and I co-authored his memoir from Vietnam called 9 Pairs of Boots in Vietnam. And There was another story, which the primary author was Tommy Webb, and I was co-author to that, as well as his daughter, and it was called Running Away and Finding Home. And it was also, it was a story that had some sadness in it, but, it had a happy ending, though.
Why are these themes so important to you?
Well, I think because my husband was my high school sweetheart, and so when I was just 19 and we just began to talk about perhaps getting married, he got drafted into the military. And so I just kind of went through that with him. And then through the years, we've worked with veterans through a group called Point Man Ministries. And through talking with many, many veterans and their family members, it's just kind of become a passion for both of us.
And we love that you share the stories. If people are interested in really any of the books, but first of all, Pink Bows and Yellow Ribbons, where can we find that book? It's on sale today.
Today, yes. It's on Amazon. If you search for it, you have to search for Pink Bows and Yellow Ribbons book. Otherwise, you end up with all kinds of little
Pink bows and yellow ribbons.
And you scroll for a while.
So make sure you put in book, everybody, or you're going to get craft projects.
Right. It's also available on my website. My website is rosiejwilliams.com. And I'm also carrying it at the Owl's Nest. I have a booth at the Owl's Nest as well.
All right. Well, we'll make sure we put all that contact information on. Rosie told me it's so new she doesn't even have a copy yet.
Yep.
She just has a proof, but she doesn't have the final copy in hand. So I bet you're so excited to see this. Yep. Absolutely. And a lot of people in our area certainly can appreciate and understand the messages and lessons in there. It can be tough to talk about and explain. And so this is one way.
Right. We have a yellow ribbon deployment event coming up in Topeka this weekend for 80 families that are having deployments. So it is a timely book as well.
Well, Rosie, we appreciate you sharing. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Good to see.
You can order Pink Bows and Yellow Ribbons from Amazon, or you can head right to Rosie's website where she has that book available along with all the others she has published, rosiejwilliams.com. That's ROSIE, the letter J, Williams.com. We were so grateful to visit with her this week and grateful that you are along to listen in with us. If you want to see the video from these segments and from all of the guests we welcome to the Red Couch, you can head to our Eye on Northeast Kansas section on WIBW.com. I also post them on my Facebook page along with our latest studio selfies. That's WIBW Melissa Bruner. And of course, they are on Eye on Northeast Kansas section on our WIBW 13 News channel on YouTube. Be sure to click subscribe while you are there. Glad you could spend a few minutes here with us. Until next time, we'll see you on the Red Couch.